everyone. I'm Dana Obleman, creator of the Sleep Sense program. And today I am joined by Anna, who is a Sleep Sense consultant based in Italy. Hi, Anna. Welcome to our
Hi,
show.
thank you for having me. Hi, everyone.
Yes, tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
Okay, so my name is Anna, and my business name is La Chiappa Sonno, which would mean the sleep catcher. And I have a team of consultants. There is four of us now, and we work with families in Italy, but actually anywhere where like Italian families from anywhere in the world, and even people who speak English. We've been working with English-speaking families from mostly Europe because of the time difference. But if anybody needs help from somewhere else and like the idea of having an Italian consultant, sure, we are there for you.
Awesome. That's great. And how long have you been a sleep consultant?
It has been 4 years and a half, I think, something like
Yeah,
that. Yeah, it
wonderful. That's
has been
great.
a while.
And what's your favorite part about helping families?
My favorite part, I would have to say, is the fact that every child knows how to sleep, right? And so every family will come to you and be like, no, listen, my child is different, like we have the worst situation ever. We have tried everything. I am so convinced that this is never going to work. And then every single child will find their own way to fall asleep. And it's kind of magic if we think about it, right? Because we are so convinced that children cannot sleep, right? And it's just like this thing. Whereas, like, as soon as you give the rein to the child's like, okay, I'm gonna do this my way now, and they all find their own way, and it's just magical, right? I
Yes.
just love it every single time.
I know, it's so great. It's sometimes those families who are the most skeptical when you start working with them turn out to be the most rewarding because
Yeah,
you took somebody who was convinced something wouldn't work and showed them that yes, indeed, it can work and it did work for their family.
absolutely. Yeah.
That's great. Well, that's awesome. And that leads us into today's question, which is why is it that sometimes the most spirited baby or the most challenging baby or stubborn baby or toddler, some parents call them, turn out to be actually the easier baby to sleep teach? So, Anna, tell us a little bit about maybe give us an example of, somebody that you've worked with who said those things like, this is never going to work. You don't know my baby. My baby is the most stubborn baby. First of all, how do you kind of, I guess, not convince them, but how do you reassure parents in the first place when they tell you that their child's very challenging?
Well, first of all, I mean, every child who comes to me is a challenging child, right? I mean, if they weren't, they wouldn't be speaking with me. But the thing would have to be that when a parent tells you, my child, it's like we've tried everything, right? And what I tell them is that's the key. You tried everything. Right. And I think that's the thing about the term sleep training, right? The idea of us having to train the child, right? But this is not what we do. At least this is not what we do in Sleep Sense, right? We don't train the child. We don't have a manual that's like, hey, child, do that. We train the parent to leave space for the child. And so the parents tried everything, right? So I try to cuddle my child. I've tried to um, have him be drowsy before putting him down. I've tried patting him. I've tried giving him a bottle. I've tried singing. I've tried dancing around the house. I've tried everything, right? But my question is, have you let your child try? And that's when they're like, oh, okay, no. And it's kind of scary. It's like, what do you mean? Like my child is 9 months old, like 13 months old. Like what what does that mean, right? But this is how mm, we do things differently, right? And that's
Mm-hmm.
how a family would be like, no, this is impossible. This is never going to work. I'm like, let's put faith in the child. Let's stop
Absolutely.
being the ones who are trying to make them sleep, and let's give the child the opportunity to fall asleep. And that's when they're like,
Yeah.
they're still going to be skeptical. They're not gonna be like, oh, this is a great idea. No, it's a weird concept. I understand, right? I mean, you are the parent, you're doing everything for your child, so it's very weird to hear it that way. But that's when they're like, okay, let's try it. Let's try doing this, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head for sure. It's like we think as parents, it's our job to, do everything, make sure the baby's fed and dry and lots of love and sleep. So that it's somehow our job to get this baby to sleep or make this baby sleep. But
Yeah,
sleep is such a personal and individual and independent thing that there's things we can do as a parent to be helpful, but the actual act of learning to sleep well is yours and yours alone.
exactly. I cannot learn for my child. I always tell families, this is like walking. You're not gonna make your child walk, right?
True.
But you're gonna make sure that the environment is safe. You're gonna make sure that the time is right. So you're not gonna force them to, you know, be like, oh, let's try and see if you can walk when you're 4 months old, or when
Right.
you're super tired, or if you're very excited and there's things distracting you. Like, you're gonna control the environment. You're gonna control the timing. You're gonna control what they wear, right? I mean, you're not gonna put them in heels. But then at one point, it's just you next to the child, and you just kind of wait, and you look at the child taking those first steps, and you encourage them, but you're not going to, I mean, your instinct is to stop them and to try and, like, oh, let's do this together, but this is how they're not going to learn. They're going
Right.
to learn in the moment that you step back and you let them learn their own way to walk.
I love
And for
that.
me,
That's
sleeping is the same exact thing.
Yeah, I agree. That's a great example. So let's talk about these children who have some strong will, maybe some determination. And these are all great traits to have, right? Like the
They are.
being strong-minded, being, headstrong, knowing what you want, being vocal about it. These are all really, really good traits. But when you're parenting these children, that can be a challenge to know, like, how do I navigate especially sleep when I've got a child who's really making their their voice known or heard. And so, how do we help these kiddos learn to sleep well? And why is it sometimes surprising that they actually take to it quite quickly?
So, um, let's use an example. The last family I worked with, and this is a way of saying in Italian. I don't know if you have it in English, but I'm gonna translate it anyhow. I had this family and they had a toddler, and they were like, my toddler is the son of the devil. They were like, it's like anything we do, it's just like such a struggle, like it's like, you're gonna no stroller because he doesn't want to stay in the stroller. If you have to put on a shirt, you have to fight for the shirt. We don't even change his clothes unless it's super dirty. We just leave him like that because it's too much. Like, it's too much like fighting all the time. And when we have to go to sleep, it's just like, it's like we're torturing him. Like, we approach the bedroom and this, like, he starts screaming and he starts punching, and this is like he tries to fall down, like you're scared that he's gonna hurt himself because you're holding him and it's just moving, and they're like, we're here with you, but we know this is not going to work, but it's like, we're gonna try this, and then we're gonna be like, okay, we tried everything, and okay, that's fine, right? So they were convinced that this was not going to work, but just needed it. They kind of needed it not to work, just to make sure, okay, but we did try everything, and we have a
Right.
child who doesn't sleep. That was their need, okay? And I remember me writing to my teammates and be like, so I have like a very strong-willed child I'm working with a family, and I bet you all that night one is gonna be no wakings. Like, I see, like, every time that I have a child like that, I'm like, I already know that night one, like evening, is not going to be very easy, but if I hold it, it's just going to sleep. And every time, I'm correct. And that's because you have a child who wants to be in charge. You have a child who needs to be in charge, right? And so they don't hate going to sleep. And this is the key that I give to parents. Your child is not protesting sleep. They're protesting the fact that you are going to make them sleep. That you are gonna hold them. They don't want to be held. Like it doesn't want you to like make him sleep, right? It's not a chore, right? Or they're gonna protest the fact that that you're gonna put him in the crib and that you're going. It's like you are trying to do something to him, and they don't enjoy it. I mean, I consider myself a strong-willed person. I would not enjoy anybody trying to make me sleep. Like when my husband is like patting me, like go to sleep when I'm thinking in my bed. I'm like you need to stop touching me. Leave
Right.
me alone, right? It's not everybody loves comfort, like touch and comfort, in order to feel safe. And it's just something that we need to understand with children as well. And so you have this very strong-willed child, and you have to let him take control. And that's the key. And this is what we do. Like once you have a set of routine that they know, and taking control does not mean that the child is going to decide when to go to sleep or at what time or where or what to do in the routine. Like we're going to give him clear boundaries. Within these boundaries, you're going to give him choice. You're going to give him power, right? So depending on the age, of course, if he's a 9 months old infant, you're going to make him choose between two different books. Okay. And if you have a 3 years old, you're gonna make them choose what song we're gonna dance to while we brush our teeth. Okay. Um, but then you have clear boundaries, but you're giving them power within those boundaries, as
Right.
much age-appropriate power as you can, right? And then you're gonna put them in bed, and you're gonna be like, you know what? I'm going to support you, but I'm gonna let you find your way. I'm here for you because it's not easy. You've never done it, so I'm here for you. But I know that you can do it, so I'm going to stop trying to make you fall asleep. And these children, because they're very strong-willed, they're gonna protest a lot at first. At one point, it's a switch. It's like, wait, I have control. I decide if I want to lay down or not. Parents are like, oh, so my child is going to be standing up for a long time. That's fine. It's their body. Okay. But at one point, they're going to be like, wait, I can decide if I want to go to lay down. And I'm tired, so I'm actually going to lay down. And that's the difference. And that's what makes it also magic. And as soon as this kind of children, as soon as they realize that they have all the power to decide of how I am going to fall asleep, they're just going to sleep because they cannot wait to sleep. Because if you're a strong-willed child, you're also very tired in the evening because you've been doing a lot of things during your day. And I almost never ever have wakings throughout the whole nights. Like
Wow.
from night one, they just sleep. It's like, okay, I got it, thank you, and they're just going to sleep.
Yeah, it's so true. I used to say to parents when they came to me and said, we used to be able to rock her to sleep in about 5 minutes and then transfer her to the crib. She didn't sleep through the night, but it only took again another 5 minutes here and there through the night to get her back to sleep. But now it's taking a half an hour and she's fighting it and she wakes up when I transfer her to the crib. And now it's taking like 3 or 4 tries to get her to go to sleep at bedtime and she's waking more in the night. Whenever I used to hear that scenario from parents, I would say, this is good news. This is actually really good news because it means that what you've been doing might have been working for a period of time, but now it's no longer working for her. Like it's no longer something that she's, enjoying or that is working well. She's basically saying like, I would like to find my own way to sleep.
Yeah,
I just don't know what that way is.
yeah, exactly. And that's like as soon as the parent takes a step back, it's like giving them the space to explore, right? I'm going to take a
Yes.
step back and suddenly I have all this space to explore my body because that's what I do, right? And then you have these children that are like falling asleep singing. You know, so like, oh, I'm gonna start singing now because this is so much fun. And sometimes these parents would be like, I have tried doing nothing, but then he plays in his crib, right? And it's like, that's good. Just like, why do you have to control that? We
Right.
have to let the control go. Like, the time is right, the environment is right. Your child knows how to close their eyes because this is what ultimately we're learning to do. He wants to, jump around for 5 minutes before doing that. It's not hurting himself. It's not hurting anybody. Let's just let him do it. And
Yeah.
we are not going to control them. And as soon as, the parent takes a step back and the child is like, wow, I have all this power now. And then they exercise it. And I mean, if you're a child and it's night, you have no reason to not want to sleep.
Mm-hmm. So true.
There's nothing else you have to do.
Yeah, that's right.
And so
Yeah,
you
and
just sleep.
I would always find in those scenarios when somebody's saying it's harder, it's taking longer, that those were the children who took to sleep training really quickly.
Mhm.
Within a couple of nights, they were like, "Thank you. I just needed to be shown the right way, shown the direction. I got it from here." And they figure out their sleep skills and they start sleeping well quite quickly. So it is
Yeah,
a good great thing to see.
I agree. And this
Um,
works for every age, right? Whether you have a
yeah.
6 months old who's just like really active, and when you try to make them fall asleep, it's like they are rejecting sleep, like they're like fighting it, or whether you have, a 3 years old who's just like screaming all the way to the bedroom. It's different ways of just saying, I just kind of need this to be my way, which once again does not mean that we're going to leave the power on everything, right? We
Hmm.
have we have to set the boundaries so that the child can feel safe to explore their own body and their own way of falling asleep because they have a safe boundary to move in.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you say that's a similar scenario to the clients who tell you that their child hates sleep, fights sleep? What do you say to that parent who tells you, "Oh, she hates sleep"?
Nobody hates sleep. This is what I tell them. It's like nobody hates sleep. Like we all need to sleep. They probably just kind of hate the way you've been doing it. This is not how I say it, but that's that's what we're saying beneath it. It's like, um, and I just had a baby, and I found myself in this, even if I'm a sleep consultant, right? I mean, when you have a newborn, just like I'm gonna rock you to sleep, right? And then after a couple of weeks, I started fighting it. I was like, oh, I'm gonna rock you harder now. And I did get myself into that. Like for a week, we were just like, so if I squat 5 times and then I do that and I sing that specific song, he is sorry, I bounced with the computer. He's going to fall asleep, and he was working, but it was just like getting harder and harder until I was like, wait a second, my child is telling me that he does not like this. This is
Right.
what it's not that he doesn't like to fall asleep. He likes to sleep. He's a child. He needs to sleep. He does not like the way I am doing it. And I need to take a step back from, trying to, because that's the instinct. It's normal that
Hmm.
that's your instinct. But at one point, you have to rationalize it and be like, this is not, he's telling me he doesn't like it. So it's not that they're not, no, nobody hates sleep. And if you're a child and you need to sleep for, 75% of your time of your day, it's like if you hated sleep, that would be horrible. Like
Yeah.
we cannot be programmed to hate sleep. We have to love it. And we need it. And they need it a lot. And
Hmm.
once we're rested, we're gonna wake up so happy.
Right. It's true. And I think that that's another side benefit to our program is that when we take a family through it and they're on the other side, their baby's sleeping well, then they can see that like sleep is a wonderful thing, and the child can develop a really wonderful relationship with sleep. And you get to that day where your child's actually smiling when they go into the crib. I can still remember my middle son, like he would get into the crib and he would grab his blankie and he would just give the biggest smile, like, yay, like I'm going to
Yeah.
sleep and it feels good. And that is, my wish for every child, and I'm sure it's yours as well, that they have this really peaceful and positive relationship with sleep, because
Yeah,
it is wonderful. It really
it
is.
is. And many families have told me afterwards, not only now my child is happy when they go to sleep, but they have said, now that I look at it this way, I have learned to understand my child differently and better.
Mm,
Because every time they protest does not mean that they don't like what we're doing. They might be protesting the way we're doing it. And that
oh,
just
great point.
changes perspective on everything, right? And it's like, and even when they grow, um sometimes you have families coming back to you and like, now it doesn't like sleeping anymore. It's like, that's not it. Like, not only they know how to sleep, but they loved it. We know they did. It's just we didn't give them an age appropriate power on how we're going to be doing that. So my daughter does not hate shoes, but I did have to change the way the shoe wearing process was happening. Like at one point, it was like, go get your shoes. It was not me putting her shoes on anymore. And that's
Right.
what scares us, right? Every time it's like, every time when things get difficult, not every time, but sometimes things get difficult with a child, they're actually asking you to take a step back, whereas your
Do
instincts
more.
is to
That's a
control
great
more.
point. Yeah, that's an awesome point. Well, that is a really great conversation. I think it's so important. If you're a parent who, has thought there's no way this baby's going to learn to sleep, my child will never be a good sleeper, the good news is that that is not true, and that your baby does absolutely have the power to become a wonderful independent sleeper. So, Anna, tell us where everybody can find you and connect with you.
So you can find us on our website, lacchiappasonno.com, or on Instagram, mainly on Instagram, I would say, and that Lacchiappasonno. Um, and yeah, I'm there all the time with my teammates, and I'm always happy to I answer all the DMs personally. So if you have any doubts, anything, just write to me, and I'd be very, very happy to connect.
That's great. Thanks so much for being here today, Anna.
Thank you for having me.
Bye for now.